Hello friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here, and in this video we'll be doing a long-term review of the new Nothing Phone 1. So Nothing Phone 1 was launched in July, and it's almost 3 months now. That's 90 days have passed since the device was launched in India as well as globally. Now this device probably was the most hyped smartphone of 2022. Couple of reasons, because Nothing Year 1 was again hyped last year. Now the Nothing Phone 1 had a lot of expectations, and when we reviewed the Nothing Phone 1 in July, we mentioned that it's a good phone, but there are a lot of issues like the camera performance was not that great, and even though the glyph LED was present, it was not getting much of a use except for the notification, and it did have something refreshing in terms of design. But how does it fare after 3 months of usage? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So this is our 3 month or 90 days review of the Nothing Phone 1. In fact, a couple of things I have to mention: that we haven't used any case or any additional screen guard on the Nothing Phone 1. So we'll talk about the build quality, how it has fared, and is there any scratches. All those things we'll cover in this video. So before getting started, if this is your first time on this channel, do hit that red subscribe button and also hit the bell icon to get notified of all the videos we publish. So let's begin. Now first and foremost thing of the Nothing Phone 1 has to be the design. Now whatever you talk about this device, the design is something which stands out on the Nothing Phone 1, especially with the transparent back and the glyph LED, which is kind of something new or refreshing in terms of design. So this is definitely a looker. Wherever you go, people will definitely look at this device because of this transparent back and the glyph LED. So it is a great looking device out there without any sort of doubt. Now the front panel design has some interesting aspect because this is having an equal bezel. Now most of smartphones have 3 bezels minimal, and the bottom bezels or the chin might be slightly higher, but here we have uniform bezels, the sides, the top and the bottom, everywhere we have uniform bezels. That was another important highlight. Now that experience is quite good actually. Personally, I would prefer slightly lesser bezels at the sides, but again this experience hasn't been bad. It's quite good overall, and the design aspect looks good. It's a glass and metal chassis, and you can see that the sides have a flat finishing, which gives a good in-hand feel, although it might be slightly sharper towards the edges, but normally we didn't feel any sort of issues with the design elements. It's kind of big and a heavy device. It's not a very lightweight device, but having said that, overall design and build quality is definitely stand out, and one of the best aspects of the device has to be how it looks. Now in terms of how the build quality is, now this is a glass finishing on the back panel, and this is definitely prone to scratches, but even without using any sort of case or a screen guard even on the back panel, we haven't had any sort of issues on the back panel. That's quite a strong build and scratch resistant glass. In fact, we have used without the case and the screen guard, nowhere on the device we have got any sort of scratches, but that doesn't mean it's non-breakable or doesn't have any scratches. But overall we feel that this is still a sturdy build out there, and it looks pretty good even after 90 days of usage. We haven't picked up any sort of scratches or dents on the device. Now you also get a completely metal chassis, which feels really premium. So that was the design and build quality. So it's overall a great design and a superior build quality being offered. So next let's talk about the display. Now display again is one of the highlights. So you get an OLED display here, and you get 120 Hz refresh rate. It's a 10-bit panel actually. It is very vibrant and colorful. The viewing angles are good. The touch response is very smooth. The 120 Hz refresh rate adds a smoothness to the display. So everything looks good, and even the multimedia experience is good. Solid colors, deep blacks, and overall quality looks great. But one thing what is not so great is the max brightness. Now it has a 500 nits typical brightness and 700 nits peak brightness, but in outdoor condition the brightness levels were kind of not so great actually. In fact, when we went outside with the device, we often go to the notification toggle and try to increase the brightness, only to realize that it's under the max brightness. So the outdoor brightness might be a concern, especially if you are using the device mostly outdoor, or if you are a person who travels a lot and use the device outdoor, then that might be a concern, because the max brightness definitely isn't that great, and 500 nits of brightness isn't something which we expect at this price segment. So that's one area where Nothing Phone 1 could have been done better. So that's the display quality. So overall touch response also feels very smooth. So that's the display aspect. Now talking about the most important aspect apart from the design, the software experience. So Nothing Phone 1 is banking heavily on the experience part. So experience includes the software, the camera, everything. Now software is one of the important aspects because a lot of devices fail when it comes to the great software experience. There are a lot of bugs and issues, but how does the Nothing Phone 1 perform? Now initially when we tested, we found that the software experience is good. It's more or less like a stock Android experience without any issues, and this more or less no customizations being offered except for few changes to the notification toggles. It was more or less like a stock Android experience, and overall the experience was good actually, and you do get basic customization options. Apart from that, there is also this glyph LED for customization. But one thing what we didn't like about the glyph LED is that there are no added features included except for the notification or the music visualization. Other than that, no new features have been added to this glyph LED. Yes, there is a camera portrait option when you're taking portraits, but other than that, we feel that Nothing should be working on improving this and giving third-party apps to control this glyph LED. So that has not happened yet. So the glyph LED is good, but over a period of time you might not find this exciting anymore. That's what we feel. Personally, we have used the glyph LED during our initial testing, but now we don't really care about the glyph LED. That's our personal test usage, but again you can comment whether glyph LEDs are still useful for you after like 2 or 3 months of usage. So that's the experience. Now coming back to the software, you do get Android 12 out of the box, and initially the build had some issues, especially the camera performance, but over a period of time Nothing released 4 or 5 updates for cameras, and then the patches, all those things included. But the software cycle is kind of delayed actually. In fact, Android 13 update will probably come in 2023. That's not so great for a phone which is banking heavily on the experience part. So that is something which Nothing has to take care, because there might be a constraint because of the smaller team, but you got only one device and you should be providing updates on a regular basis. Especially the patches are also kind of delayed for a phone which talks more and more about experience. So but other than that, the software experience is good. It's fairly bug free, but then here and there you might see 1 or 2 bugs, but not a major concern. Most of these bugs are fixable by self. You can just reboot the device and it should fix. But again, those are not major bugs. One of the updates did have an issue. In fact, battery draining was a major issue with the second update, but those things are now fixed. More or less now it's a stable build with no major issues we found. So that's the software experience. Now talking about the performance, now you get the Snapdragon 778G plus octa-core processor with either 8GB RAM or 12GB RAM. You get 128GB storage, and then you also get 256GB storage. It's UFS 3.1 storage support. So the performance is almost great here, because the Snapdragon 778G is a tried and tested chip, and you hardly have any sort of issues on this chip. Even the day-to-day performance was very smooth, the lag-free experience. The Snapdragon 778G is one of the really good mid-range chipsets out there, and that does a really good job here as well. Now the gaming experience is also good. You may not get the 800 series experience on the 778G, but it's more or less closer to the 800 series, and the performance is once again very good. If you are a casual gamer, you wouldn't have any sort of issues. Even heavy gamers at this price segment wouldn't have much of issues. The gaming experience is definitely good on the Nothing Phone 1. So that's the gaming experience, and overall performance is solid on the Nothing Phone 1. So next, talking about the other aspect, you get an in-display fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner performance is very smooth. Again, no issues here. Very responsive fingerprint scanner. Now talking about the speaker performance, we have dual stereo speakers, and again output is good. The loudness could be tad better, but again we are not complaining here. The sound quality is good overall, and even if you're watching multimedia, this is definitely a good experience. Now talking about the other aspect, you get wireless charging here. This is the wireless charging area. One of the few devices offering wireless charging in this price segment. You get IP53 splash resistant coating, which is again good. So all these things adds value actually, because wireless charging is something which is not found in this price segment. Now the call quality is also pretty good. We have tested with 4G LTE, dual VoLTE, voice over Wi-Fi. We haven't yet to test with 5G, but 4G it works really well, hardly any sort of issues here. So that was the overall performance aspect of the Nothing Phone 1. Next, let's move on to the camera. So we get a dual camera setup. We have a dual 50 megapixel camera. These two cameras take care of almost all the things, including the ultra wide, the primary camera, the portraits, macros, everything is taken care of by these two cameras. And on the front panel you get a 16 megapixel camera. Now the cameras, when we tested initially, were not so great because the camera performance had issues with HDR performance, and overall the experience was kind of average at its best. There were areas of improvement when we tested back in July, and we mentioned that these issues can be fixed with software updates, and Nothing has delivered with multiple updates for the camera. Now you get plenty of options, and the camera performance is definitely improved. The HDR issues have been sorted out. The portraits are good. The low light experience is good. The ultra wide angle camera, the sharpness levels were again improved. It was not so great initially. Now that has also been improved. So these are things which Nothing has done or rather worked really well, and we really appreciate how Nothing has improved the camera performance over a period of time. Now the cameras are kind of good overall, but are they class leading or are they best for the price segment? We would say not so great. There are still areas of improvement, but overall we feel as a package the Nothing Phone 1 camera definitely works pretty good. You can see some of the samples were taken, and they come pretty good, and even with updates they are improving, and we expect Nothing to even refine more with updates in the coming days. So the cameras are improved, but again not a class leading or the best in class, but definitely it won't disappoint users. Next, let's move on to the battery. Now this device comes with a 4500 mAh capacity battery, and this supports wireless charging and also fast charging in terms of 33 watt. That's something which is not so great because most of the Android smartphones we see around 65 watt charging, even in fact 120 watt charging. In this era we get only 33 watt charging for an above 30k device. That should have been better, but Nothing ships with a 45 watt charger. Probably in future devices there might be 45 watt charging, we are not really sure, but the charging speeds are not so great, especially for a device in this price segment. But having said that, the battery life is quite good. We got around like 6.5 to 7 hours of screen on time on this device, but the second update, or rather the third update, did have an issue and it messed up with the battery, and it was around 5 to 5.5 hours of screen on time. But after other updates, now the situation is back to normal. The battery performance is definitely good for a 4500 mAh capacity battery, so we don't have anything to complain in that aspect. So overall the areas of improvement is the faster charging. That's something which we feel Nothing should be doing better, but wireless charging is supported, and you can also charge wireless power share is there. That means you can also charge other earphones or phones from this device, so that's again an added feature. So that was our review of the Nothing Phone 1 after using for 90 days or 3 months. Now what are the good things? Solid build quality, the design still is refreshing, the display is good but the brightness levels are not so great, the software experience is really good but the update cycle is not so great, the updates are very slow, and even the Android 13 update is probably coming only next year. Those are the things Nothing should be fixing it, faster update cycle and also the patch cycle. Apart from that, the performance is really good. It's a good device for day-to-day performance and hardly any issues. The gaming is also quite good. Now the cameras are good but not best in class. It has improved over a period of time. Again there are areas of improvement, and we see Nothing improving in that. That's definitely a great thing to note. But again, cameras are not great, but you won't be disappointed with the experience. That's what we feel. Now the battery life is once again pretty good, and you get wireless charging. So overall, should you buy it? We feel this is a good package, except for one or two areas. One is, if you are not bothered about the update cycle, then this is a really great device. But if you are a person who wants the latest updates and latest patches on timely manner, then the Nothing Phone 1 needs to improve in that. And also, if you are looking for the best camera in this price segment, again that's not the area or the strong point of Nothing Phone 1. But otherwise, the Nothing Phone 1 is still a good overall package. You won't get a better overall package. It may not be a best in class in all the aspects, but as an overall package it is still a great device to buy because the experience is definitely good. So that is our experience with the Nothing Phone 1 in the last 90 days. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.